Okay, back in the kitchen now with Denise Gerard. She is from the Reedsville area, and her side just jumped right out at us. And I said, oh, okay, got to do this one. It's a cream of wild mushroom soup, or mushroom soup with wild rice.
Right.
Yum. And we were talking a minute ago. I think sometimes Thanksgiving can be such a food fest. It's like rush. To start it out with a soup is such a lovely idea.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
And your kids love it, they say. It's tradition.
Yes. Yep. Every year I make this, and all my kids look forward to it. I never have any left over. We were talking about freezing it. Does it freeze well? I don't know, because we never do have any left. But yeah, having the soup before, it really is nice. Everybody kind of sits down, and then they have the soup, and then they settle down a little bit, and it's not such a food frenzy sometimes.
I agree. I totally agree with you. Okay, so we started a little bit ahead of time. We started out with some butter and some celery, 6 cups of diced celery.
Right, in a cup of butter. And we're going to saute that for a little bit.
Okay.
Then we'll add the mushrooms and onions.
Okay, so we've got some diced onions.
There's 2 large onions there.
Okay.
And there's a pound of fresh sliced mushrooms.
And you can get those already sliced, already in the store. Save some time, save some work.
Yes, it does. And they work out very good.
So you're going to let this cook low and slow until the veggies just start to get nice and soft.
Yes, you want the veggies to get a little tender. I like to leave them just a little crispy because it just adds a little more texture to it.
Okay.
Especially the celery. I like having that little bit of texture in the soup.
And it smells, just making it smells amazing. Okay, now we're going to get to work on the roux over here. So we've got some butter.
Right. I'm going to melt, that's a half a cup of butter.
Okay.
Going to melt that down.
Okay.
And once that's melted, we'll add the flour, salt, and pepper.
Okay, so I'll wait for that to melt a little bit. Now, this is another thing that jumped out at me. You've ever made real wild rice? It takes like forever in a day and a half.
Right, I love this. This is like the best thing since sliced bread.
I totally love it. This is canned wild rice, and we were talking earlier to one of the gals in the newsroom. She's like, I didn't even know they made canned wild rice. Well, they do. And it's wonderful. And if you're using it in a recipe, it's great. So you need to drain it real well, though.
Right. It has all the good flavor. It's got a very good flavor to it. Just because it's pre-cooked doesn't take anything away from it.
No, and we're adding so many other good things.
Right.
So, okay. While I'm draining this, I'm going to let you check on the butter for the roux.
Okay.
So butter and flour we've got cooking in this pot, and we've got the veggies and the butter in the other.
All right. Yep. Let's get in there. So let the butter melt in here. Once that melts down, then we're going to put in half a cup of flour and a teaspoon of pepper and a teaspoon of salt.
So that's going to thicken the soup, is that right?
Right.
Denise?
Yep, this is going to be our base for that cream soup.
This is not just a Thanksgiving recipe either. You were saying earlier that sometimes you'll make this, other times of the year, and all of a sudden the family comes home for it.
Right. Yep. All my kids are grown and out of the house, and this is one of the dishes that will bring them home to dinner and
that's
sit
what
around
it's
the
all
table.
about. Yeah. Yep. Mom's making her famous cream of mushroom wild rice soup. So
Right.
I'm all about.
Right.
Sadly, I think those days of family dinner every night are disappearing. But if you can do it, when you can, go for it.
Yep.
Go
That's
for
right.
it. So you do the turkey and you do the soup, and then the rest of the family brings the sides?
Yep. Everybody will bring something.
I love that.
Yeah.
Got one daughter who does perfect mashed potatoes, and I think that's a great way to divide it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so
now I'll take the milk.
The milk?
And we have 2 quarts of milk, and you can use skim milk if you want. This is 2%.
All of it in there?
Just about half of it.
Okay, you tell me when.
We're just going to pour it in and stir, and then kind of let it. That's good.
Okay.
Let it thicken up a little bit.
Okay.
We are going to end up. We'll use the whole 2 quarts of it.
Oh,
but
okay. Just kind of put it in bits at a time.
Yeah, a little bit at a time.
I get what you're
Kind of
saying.
slopping all over here. Yeah, a little bit at a time, but because it's the milk, everybody knows about scorching milk.
Sure.
You want to keep the heat kind of down low. Keep stirring it. Pretty soon it'll start to get thick and bubbly.
Okay.
And then you can add the rest of the milk. You can go ahead and put that in if you want.
You bet. I get it. So it all goes in there eventually.
Yeah,
and
then the whole 2 quarts all goes in.
You've got one other ingredient I see, chicken soup base.
Right. After this gets a little thick, then I'll put the soup base in. I have 8 teaspoons of chicken soup base.
And it's not the bouillon cubes. They've come a long way since those. Those just were mainly salt. now it's more of like a paste almost, and you can find it right near the soups and the stocks in your grocery store, and it really adds a lot more flavor.
Right.
So,
Yes,
you
it
know,
does.
and it's strong. So I always start with a little, and you can always add more. You know what I mean? Don't
Yep.
overdo it.
Yeah, that's right.
We've been burned. I've been burned that way, where you add too much, and then it's just like, whoa,
Right.
can't get rid of it. So 8 teaspoons, you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I go with 8 teaspoons because there's 8 cups of milk here.
Got it.
So a teaspoon per cup.
Okay.
But like you said, you can put
Taste
more
it,
in.
yes.
Right.
Okay, and every one of those brands is a little bit different, so.
Yeah. Some of it has a lot of sodium in it,
Right.
and that's why I only put a teaspoon of salt in the soup because you
Got
don't want
it.
it to be too salty.
Exactly.
My kids and husband are always on me because I salt everything that I eat. So
me too. I know, we got to cut back on that. I
Yeah.
know.
So I'm going to go ahead and just put this in. It's not quite where we want it, but it'll be quickly.
And at home, you know, you're going to have a little more time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, this does take a little bit of time bringing this to a boil.
And we've got some time right now. It's okay.
Right,
You were
yeah.
talking about, you are really into cooking and growing your own vegetables. You got a big garden in the summer.
Yes, huge vegetable garden. We raise a lot of our meat as well, chickens and beef and pork.
I got to come out to your place and check it out.
Yeah, I would like to have you come out.
I would love to. You sound like my kind of a gal.
Yeah, we love it. I went from full-time to casual at work so that I could better take care of things on the farm.
Sure.
It's not very big. You know, we have 1 milk cow and a few rabbits and chickens for eggs, and we raise meat chickens.
Sounds like
during
you're
the
busy.
summer.
Sounds like you're keeping busy.
It's busy.
She brought her husband Scott along. She a darn good cook. I can tell. I can tell. When's dinner? I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've got many special recipes up your sleeve.
Oh, I do.
No.
And I did a lot more canning this year because we were overabundance of tomatoes.
Oh, yeah?
I make homemade salsa, and I had a license to sell it, and I still do a little bit of that, but I made spaghetti sauce this year and a lot of things. Got an awesome recipe for Bloody Mary mix from my neighbor.
Okay, we got to
Yes,
have you on
thanks,
for that
Jeremy.
one of these times.
Yes.
That sounds great. So the vegetables are starting to cook down a little bit, and is it starting to thicken just a little bit?
It is. It's starting to thicken a bit. We can go ahead and put that in if you like.
So this is all about all those wonderful. This is
Yeah.
a thick, hearty, wonderful soup.
Right, and you know, it's basic ingredients in here. You can add to it. One of my daughters asked me if I could put some like chicken breast in it.
Oh,
Put
sure,
chicken
sure,
breast to have the
sure.
meat in there. If you don't want any of the meat, you don't even need to add the soup base, the chicken soup base, if you don't want that. And we'll go ahead and put the rice in.
I was thinking leftover turkey. You got a little bit of that in there. Great way to use some of that.
Right.
Great as is, but if you wanted to do that, okay, the 2 cans. And I drained those real well. There's a lot of liquid, and we don't want, it's kind of like canned beans. You get rid of that liquid that's inside there.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So this is going to cook, combine, be wonderful. You're going to stir it often. Don't want it to burn.
Yeah.
And we've got a finished batch over here.
Right.
This
You
is
just
one
want
of
to let it simmer for like 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead and turn that down.
This is also, we were talking, Denise, that this is one of those things that go ahead and not, get some of this stuff out of the way. You don't want to be in the kitchen Thanksgiving whipping this up.
Right.
You can have this parked in your slow cooker.
Right.
Keeping it nice and warm. And here it is. So Chef Scott, are you excited about this one?
You bet I am.
I am too. I'm a soup nut. And I love the idea of doing a soup for Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
You know,
Sure.
butternut squash soup or this soup, just something. Look at that. Wow.
It's a very hearty soup, very rich.
I like it.
So you're going to make me judge these again, right?
Yeah, you gotta make the final decision on this.
Right.
All right, let me get you a spoon. Give her a try. Oh, it smells so good.
You can taste everything, the cream. Excuse me. Wild rice is nice and chewy, the texture, the celery. It's got all those flavors in there.
Yum, makes a nice big batch. Thank you so much.
Very, very
really
nice.
appreciate it.
Thank you for
All right,
having
so
me.
who's
Very
going to
nice,
be
thank
the big winner? We'll find out next. Don't go anywhere.